From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, recruiting wrap with Michael Langston, the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week, and other news and notes around the Florida State football program as they prepare for Oklahoma and the Cheez-It Bowl. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com. You know what time it is when we hang out on Mondays, y'all. It's Victory Burgers, usually. There's a victory somewhere in your life. Celebrate with a lunch special over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Hamburgers, build your own burger, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, only $8.99, and it does come with a side dish. What do you go with on your burger? I know you're not a potato guy, so you're not a French fry guy, Corey. So like onion rings or tots? I know that's potato, obviously, but like are tots acceptable for you?
No, of course not. But the tots there are very good, I've been told. I just go with the side salad, man.
That's right. Okay.
Their side salads are really good. They're substantial. They're loaded with stuff. A lot of cheese, which is what I want in my salad. Yeah, man. That's usually what I go with. It's whatever I get whether it's a burger, a chicken sandwich, maybe some wings. But my side item is always the salad.
Side straight fries.
My body's a temple.
It is. So are you, what's the next part of this metamorphosis of yours? Are you just maintaining now, or is like.
Just maintaining. Okay. Just getting bigger and better looking every day. That's just what I'm doing, man.
Okay. Side dishes include straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. You can also get their signature toppings of either bacon, avocado, or a fried egg added to your burger. They don't mess around at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Check them on out, cptallybar.com, or as always, pull out your phone, take that QR code to your camera, boom, takes you right to the website. Our website's warchant.com, only $10 American, and you can get in a whole entire year of great access. You need it. The premium recruiting board where Michael Langston resides is percolating and popping off with news about transfers, high school recruits. We have 20 good minutes with Michael coming up towards the end of the program, so do stay buckled in for that one. 5-star rating and review, please, on Apple devices. Maybe a thumbs up on the old YouTube. All right, Corey, we were able to watch 3 days of practice since we last hung out. Their faceless opponent era right now, I think they'll be taking about a week off here. And when they come back towards the end of next week, or the beginning of next week, rather, they'll focus more on Oklahoma. But they continue to be competitive. Anything kind of standing out to you? Just Johnny Wilson continue to do Johnny Wilson things? Do you like what you're seeing from any of the defensive backs? Or is it just basking in like, all right, man, this is what I cover now. We're only going up from here. This is good. I'm happy.
I'm basking. I'm doing a lot of basking, Aslan. You know that. Plus, these haven't been typical practices that you get during a game week because they're kind of they're like mini spring practices or mini preseason practices where they're working a lot on themselves but not overdoing it, at least the portion that we see with the veterans. But, look, I thought if we're going to get into the weeds of what I saw on Sunday in their last practice, I did think the passing game looked a lot better than it did on Saturday. Just in general, all of them. I thought they made a lot of big plays. Johnny Wilson made some big plays. Deuce Spann kind of seemed to be he stood out to me a lot more than he has, let's say, the last 2 months here in the last 2 or 3 days. So that's good to see. Maybe he's taken a step up. And then somebody that I think you might want to know for the bowl, I'm not sure yet, is Jarrell Powers, the freshman tight end. He seems to be more of part of, like, maybe even close to getting on the field. I mean, I guess they don't have to risk burning a red shirt. Yeah. So I wonder if he's a part of the game plan at all. But he made a spectacular catch. I think it was an 11-on-11s, like going up over a linebacker in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
that was a really nice play. So, he's somebody that you hadn't even thought about because he's been on the scout team for so long. But maybe he's somebody that will make some plays against Oklahoma.
Yeah, poor fella. He catches the ball and he's immediately tackled to the ground because he's pretty much like blanketed. And then like Norvell's so excited, runs to him and is like yells at him, implores him like to get up and keep running towards the end zone. And he does, and he gets like 4 strides towards the end zone, and then Norvell runs at him. He's like, turn around, get the ball back to the line of scrimmage, and he turns right back around and runs a complete opposite way. They're constantly under stress out there. It's incredible, but they're keeping their cool, and it is good to see a guy like him kind of get some form. But, yeah, Terrell hasn't played in a game yet so far, so maybe the bowl is opening for him. If you're wondering about people out there that they can recruit at tight end, again, Michael Langston will talk about that towards the end of the show a little bit, so do stay with us throughout that one there. But, yeah, we're seeing these younger guys kind of emerging. It's cool to see a guy like Powers, a guy like Deuce Spann. 3, 2. Yeah, man, good to see these younger guys kind of emerging. But I don't know. I guess the story from the last few days where we didn't do a Friday pod, and then, we had our Christmas party Thursday, which we broke news about Trey Benson. But it seems like, there's these new guys that are emerging, but ultimately just there's so much good feeling around this program right now, and I guess at practice there's so much good energy because there's so many guys that are announcing that they're coming back. And I think the cool thing is rather than seeing them maybe, I don't know, like using these few lighter days of practice as a victory lap, again, we're seeing them buying into the messaging and really kind of competing hard, man, despite the fact that these aren't the most grueling practices. It just makes you feel a little bit more confident when you do hear guys like, Micah Pittman talking about national title aspirations for next year. So they're just, we're enjoying this bowl sort of season, but we're also thinking about the future because all these guys are locking in. Are you finding yourself kind of thinking about 2023 already, or you focus on Oklahoma living your life 1/4 mile at a time, Corey?
Well, no, I am. I'm as you know, I take it one game at a time and one season at a time. I'm not looking ahead to 2023 when we're still in the middle of, well, not in the middle, but at the tail end of 2022. That's actually a lie. I am looking ahead to 2023. I think, with Benson coming back, Jordan Travis coming back, all the other guys. Look, man, a lot of the guys that announced, obviously, I guess the portal was an option, but the NFL really wasn't. But still, it's good to have that kind of momentum. And have everybody on social media talking about how they're coming back and they want to run it back and all that. That's great. But you look at what they do have coming back that we know of. And,
I'll rattle it
now
off
it's a
real
matter
quick.
of
I'll rattle it off. Trey Benson, Jordan Travis, Kalen DeLoach, Tatum Bethune, Micah Pittman, Jarian Jones, Renardo Green, Robert Scott, Winston Wright. They all announced they're coming back.
So when you look at this team and what it is now and what you project it to be next year, it's going to be a very good offensive team and maybe a very good team overall. You start looking at holes, like just little holes. Like, man, it'd be nice to have a tight end, like a really good one, as Michael Langston will talk about. There were 2 on campus. Man, it'd be good to have maybe another defensive tackle or 2, another linebacker, another safety. Like, it reminds me of like a good NFL team that feels like they're 1 or 2 pieces away. Like they make a run in the playoffs, maybe they make it to the first round, maybe they win a game, and then they're like, man, we are just 1 or 2 pieces away from maybe competing for a Super Bowl. And I feel like that's kind of where Florida State is when you look at this program. Like the way the portal is, the way the portal opens things up for everyone. Yeah, don't you think Florida State? I mean, it's probably 4 or 5 pieces, but they're all gettable because it's the portal. It's portal season. So that's what's so encouraging. You'll have a good offense. If you can get some holes we assume there's going to be some holes to be filled on the defense. Nobody's really announced yet, but when they do, you're just looking at, man, filling it out with a couple of pieces. Just a couple of pieces here and there, and you go into next season, genuine contenders for at least an ACC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're wondering who on defense is out there, we can't give you a head count. We can't do roll call. But we do have practice video those first 2 periods. So you can pretty much see who's out there and who's not out there and draw your own assumptions as you need to from there as well. So, and don't forget Daryl Jackson. I don't know if that came across before we wrapped up for the week, but the Quincy product from Miami, defensive tackle. So you think about, potentially – not potentially, but you're losing Robert Cooper. He's exhausted his eligibility, so he maybe kind of slots in there. Or if Fabian were to come back, those guys are playing side to side. So they're filling these quickly. And I guess and for me being a pretty impatient person, what I do like most about this portal season, again, Michael Langston will talk about, is that we're going to find out answers really quickly on these guys that they need, like these holes. They'll emerge here in the next 10 days, 14 days. And then they'll probably quickly get snatched up and figure it all out. So It's changing the entire calendar. It's almost you have to change the way you're a college football fan. You might have been tuning out right about now, but no, it's busy. It's the busy season.
Well, and with proven commodities, again, like we've talked about, not some 4-star from Daytona, but a kid that's played in the Power 5 somewhere, potentially, or a guy that's being recruited by everyone that can come in and can help immediately. Not, man, I hope he grows and in 2 years he can play, but no, he'll be a starter next year. That's what you're looking at in these next 2 or 3 weeks, right? That's how big this next 2 or 3 weeks is. And even now you get impatient, even though knowing that most of these guys will probably commit before, Christmas or at least before New Year. You're still impatient. Like, man, hurry up and make Florida State. We need to know who's going to be on the team next year. And so I just think that, the portal season has changed everything. But when you think about the guys they have coming back and the amount of experience and talent they have coming back on one side of the ball, the other side of the ball, look, Tatum Bethune coming back is that's a really comforting. That's a really good get. Yeah. Very comforting. So now you have your starting linebackers back. Amari's leaving. Got it, but you have Deloach and Bethune coming back. That is a big deal. You have at least one of the safeties coming back, which again, where was Akeem Dent going to go? I get it, but it's just good. It's comforting to know that he is on board. He is in there. So with that in mind, you do need some pieces, though. You don't know about Jared Verse. You don't know about Fabian Lovett. The kid from Miami is a nice get, especially because Jarrett Jackson's already left, and like you said, Cooper's gone. So you need another body there at least. Even if Fabian Lovett comes back, I think you need another defensive tackle, and I think you need a defensive end, even if Jared Verse stays. I just think you need another defensive end, and I think you need you need at least somebody in the secondary, probably a safety, but there's a lot of possibilities out there because the portal is 1,100 kids are in there right now. 1,200,
just FBS kids, just FBS.
Yeah, and like 35 of them have committed, or 40. So it is wide open. So but that's cool, man. That's the neat thing about where this program is you're not going into the portal now. You're not dipping into the portal to try to get competitive. You're dipping in the portal now to perhaps make championship runs. Mm-hmm. That's how much it's changed in a year. So that's a cool place to be. Cool thing to talk about.
Absolutely. Another thing to kind of keep in mind too is some players might try to get another year of eligibility, but they might not explicitly talk about it because I think there's guys that are being recruited at certain positions that they probably don't want to scare away. Now, is that it's not ethical, but it's part of this whole game here. So I mean, there's some guys that you might be thinking are gone, and they might be able to return if they can get this like a hardship. So it's going to just kind of be incredible to see the roster and the management of this all kind of play out here over the next several weeks and maybe months when we're talking about the NCAA having to do their part in maybe issuing some hardships. Corey, Sunday practice, when we talked to Mike Norvell, I think the best exchange was between you and him. It's pretty much any time you and him exchange is the best exchange.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely.
But, I mean, you asked him, I guess. I mean, your question was what? Is he getting different questions from recruits' families after he's shown them?
Basically, and however I asked it, I was looking for a specific narrative to go down for him. It's like last year they're just selling a vision. They're selling they're selling a promise. Now they're selling proof. So I just wondered what the conversations were like, how much they had changed from last year and the year before to this year, where there's actually proof. Like would they have 10 guys on campus, a mix of high school and portal kids this past weekend, 10 or 11, I think. What are those conversations like compared to what they were last year when there was so little proof, at least scoreboard wise, what was and record wise, what was changing? Now he's got proof. So I was just wondering what his thoughts were on that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It was a good answer. It's Norvell speak, so he kind of ebbs and flows between what I really want him to talk about and kind of what he wants to talk about, like a politician. Yeah. But he did say that yes, it's easier. It's easier to sell that the product is this because the product is now this. They want to keep getting better and everything, but he's not having to sell a rebuild, I think was like the direct quote. Like, we're not in a rebuild anymore. We're not selling a rebuild because they've been, they're not completely built, but they're up to 60 floors. By the way, I think we've talked about this before, but that picture, you remember when they're building the Empire State Building and those, whatever that famous picture with those guys sitting on the scaffolding? Does that not make your heart drop when you see that picture of the guys eating lunch?
The first time
on that little beam.
Yeah, now I look at it as art. But yeah, the first time I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's somehow emerged.
And it was apparently just a publicity.
What?
It was a publicity stunt. It wasn't real. Those guys weren't really eating lunch up there.
Oh.
They just got them to pose for the picture and then go eat their lunch.
Oh.
I mean, who would eat a lunch like that? Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I thought they were
I can't believe they got those guys to do it.
Incredible.
No. If you don't know what we're talking about, I don't even know how to Google it. Just say skyscraper builders lunch, and you'll see it. It's a black and white photo, high above New York City, probably in the 50s. All these guys wearing hard hats as if they've just taken a quick minute from building this building to eat a lunch, and it makes me want to throw up every time I see it. But anyway, Florida State's in that part.
Right, 1932.
Okay, so it's the Empire State Building.
No, it wasn't the Empire. It's just their. It was a stunt by the Rockefeller Center to advertise their new RCA building.
Oh, okay. What even the Empire State Building? I've been living a lie this whole time. But anyway, so that's where Florida State kind of is. Like, they haven't built it. It's the RCA building isn't up and running and 100% usable right now. You could also say it's like Nakatomi if you want to get a little later, a little diehard, because remember, John McClain's hanging out on like floor 30 and 31. The Christmas party's on like floor 28. Well, 30 and 31 are still under renovation. It's still not completely built. So that's where Florida State is right now. But the guts are good, man. The foundation is there. They built up some stories.
It's incredible. Oh, no, we got there and we got away from it and we came back. We did it. We did do it. We did do it. Award season also happened this past weekend, Corey. Shout out Dylan Gibbons, Werfel Trophy winner.
Yeah.
For just basically being an awesome human being. So add that to our illustrious trophy case alongside Lombardi winners, Thorpe winners, Heisman winners, Maxwell Award winners.
Remington. Got a Remington in there.
Yeah, that's right. Shout out.
Some Grozas.
Yeah. No Mackey, though, right? I think Nicola just made the list, but I don't think he actually won the Mackey.
Did he win the Mackey? I don't think he did, yeah.
No.
So that's the only one. That's probably the only big one they're missing, right?
Looking at you, Biscuit. Looking at you, Biscuit.
I also don't think they've won a Bolitnikov.
Yeah, correct. Oh.
Ironically.
Who can Johnny win it next year? He'll be on the list, so that's sort of, you got to start on the list. So
I don't think offensive skill players are going to win a lot of, other than Jordan, are going to win a lot of awards for Mike Norvell because it's spread out so much.
And we run the ball, and we run the ball, and then we run the ball.
The clutch shot, the biggest hit. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good
Player of the Week.
You heard the man. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week. We both have picks. We'll start off with Corey Clark. Corey, who's your Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week?
I can't remember if I've done her 2 times or 3 times. It's certainly not going to be the last time, but I got to go with her again. Tanaya Latson, freshman sensation, the best player to ever play, the most talented player. Quickly, I'm going to stop couching it, just saying the best player ever to play at Florida State. Had 34 points on Sunday in a 108-51 win over Texas Southern. So she came close, like not all that close, but I feel like Tanaya Latson and 2 of her teammates playing 3-on-5 would have had a real chance against Texas Southern. That's how good she is. But 34 points on 12 of 19 from the floor, so she didn't shoot 40 times. She also was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. And was second on the team in rebounds, second on the team in assists. It's what she does. 34 points in 26 minutes. She has a real chance to win ACC Player of the Year, not just ACC Freshman of the Year. And she should make a whole bunch of All-American teams. She's awesome. This team is 10-1. They play UConn here coming up, which will be a great test. But, Brooke, great job so far, and really good job recruiting and landing and keeping Tanaya Latson because she is awesome.
I'll go with the football player. No games, but lots of notoriety, lots of exposure for the program, and really good stuff. With Dylan Gibbons winning the Werfel Trophy. The Werfel Trophy given to the player who best exemplifies community service with leadership achievement on and off the field. That is according to the official pamphlet, if you will. Man, Gibbons has been captain of the All-State Good Works team. He is the Jim Tatum Award winner, senior football scholarship athlete in the conference. Man, he has raised over $500,000 to help out with whether it was the hurricane damage this past year, through numerous charitable causes, and his impact in that locker room cannot probably be overstated. It's indescribably good what he's done on the field for this program and off the field for, giving some good PR. That's always a good thing as well, too.
Amen.
So,
Amen, brother. Amen.
Shout out to the Bearded Wonder, the Marauder from Clearwater, Dylan Gibbons, and Tanaya Latson, our Zaxby's Indescribably Good Players of the Week. As advertised, everybody, we got Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports horse, joining us here on Wake Up Warchant. Busy weekend for Michael, so he's got lots to share. We won't beat around the bush too much. But first, Michael, how's the portal season treating you, big dog?
It's going all right. No biggies, no problem for me. So, it's been I'll be on it active again. Now that I'm through this visit weekend, but I think it's been pretty good so far with FSU. Just getting the guys, that they're targeting to get them on campus, and I think you're going to see more of that next weekend when they host. Like, it's going to be over 15 official visitors. So,
oh boy,
I think a lot of them are going to be commits, but there'll be some mixed in, and I think even more you might see some with some transfer portal guys. So I think it's going pretty well as far as FSU targeting and getting the kids that they're targeting on campus.
Right on. Yeah, Florida State, they're going to be off from the 12th through the 18th, I think, or the 12th through the 17th, rather. So another weekend. Next weekend sounds like, Michael. But let's get to what happened this past weekend. Let's start, I guess, at the tight end position. Two guys that are kind of in the mix right now, Kyle Morlock, Jaheim Bell from South Carolina. What'd you take away from both their visits?
Yeah, the thing I've got with Kyle, I think things look good. I even dropped a nugget on people right after the visit, after we had already done a story on him. Kyle mentioned like, hey, I'm going to visit Illinois, Auburn, and Tennessee. I think it's just going to be Tennessee from what I'm hearing from my sources around that. He just wants something to compare FSU to. We'll see if that visit gets scheduled, but that's kind of what I hear the plan is, and I think FSU sits in a solid spot there. I think everything they did this weekend, from the way they connected with him to just the way they envision him in this offense, it was just the way. I think the another big thing is just having Jordan Travis returning. I think when you have a tight end that's coming in, he wants to be with somebody that's experienced and explosive and certainly can make plays and the guy you can count on. And I think certainly FSU having him is an advantage. So I think FSU sits in a good spot there. And then with Jaheim Bell, he was kind of more business-like, where he didn't want to take. I think I had FSU rep bring up to me that he didn't want a lot of pictures. So I think he was just all focused on the business of what was the trip, and I've heard it was really good. And I think I talked to several FSU sources after it was over. They know that there's going to be other teams pursuing because he's a dynamic weapon. And, he's at South Carolina. He certainly is a dynamic weapon. But I think they feel pretty good about where they said, after this visit. I think FSU, I think their feeling is that they hold a lead and they like where they sit. But they also know the competition's there. I'm sure FSU's got some. They're going to do definitely an in-home with him again. I'm assuming probably next week sometime. I think Norvell's already used his, but I think certainly you'll see Chris Thompson and maybe a few of the other offensive staff over there to see him. But right now, I think they feel good about where they're at.
Do they want? Are they both takes, or do you think whichever one pulls the trigger first is who they'll end up rolling with?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that situation. I think it's going to be they're both takes.
Oh, okay.
I think they both offer a different explosive skill set. Kyle Morlock's more 6'7", a lot of high catch radius room as far as what you can do with him in the red zone and just throughout the field. Very quick and good speed for a tight end, so he's going to get you separation. And then Jaheim Bell's kind of falls in the category of, I don't even list him really as a tight end. He's more of a wide receiver / H-back / tight end. Kind of Debo Samuels like stuff he does. They like to run him. They like to just get his hands on the ball. So he's a little bit of a different kind of weapon. So I think FSU wants to kind of change their tight end room to make it more dynamic, and so this certainly helps that. You already have Marquiston Douglas, who I think started to come out and make some plays for FSU, and obviously Cam's leaving. He'll be graduated, but so you need some playmakers, and I think that's kind of the reason why I think both of these guys are takes.
Jaheim Bell's caught 56 passes in his 3-year career at South Carolina, 7 scores. He's had 73 carries this past season for 261 and 3 scores, as Michael was talking about his sort of multifaceted ability. Kyle Morlock, meanwhile, he has caught 57 balls in 24 games played in total, 890 yards and 11 scores in his career at Shorter University. That's in the Gulf South Division II. Let's move to trenches now, Michael. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, one transfer, one from high school. Jeremiah Byers, hotly contested, it sounds like, prospect most likely here out of the portal from UTEP. Did arrive on campus. What were some of the things that you think he wanted to see, and do you think he ultimately walked away from what he wanted to see when he was on campus?
Yeah, I think obviously they went to see him in-home. They did an in-home with Byers earlier last week before he came in this weekend. They wanted to bring him in for a visit. I think the profile lists him at 6'6". He's not 6'6". He's probably like 6'3". So not a big deal because he's an interior guy. So height is not as big a deal. Certainly looks the part. Very certainly well put together guy, and certainly a guy that I think he wanted to see kind of what the practices looked like, kind of way the organization of how they do it, and just the cohesiveness of the offensive line. And I think FSU checked every box with all that stuff, and certainly was really surprised and excited when Norvell came to greet him in the certainly in the parking lot. For people that aren't aware of how Norvell does stuff as far as when recruits arrive there. So I think he was very impressed the fact that he felt like a priority from the start right when he arrived. And I think they checked everything that they were looking for. I think FSU did everything he was wanting to see. Just what the culture was like, what the players were like, and just how the player-coach reaction was. I think that was one of my big things that I thought FSU needed to do, and I think they certainly accomplished all those things. Now, he did pick up Penn State offer, Oklahoma offer, and an Oregon offer while he was visiting FSU.
Wow.
So we don't know how many more visits there'll be. I was told he likely wants to get the process over more sooner than later.
Okay.
So certainly that bodes well, for FSU if that's still the plan. We'll see if he takes any other visits, but everything I've got pointed to, whether it's intel or just stuff in general, that everything seemed to go pretty positively for FSU as far as Byers goes, and just kind of where they sit. I would say they're the team to watch right now in that recruitment, just because of the fact that he jumped right in and took a visit to FSU immediately. That tells you kind of there was something about FSU that intrigued him and he liked and connected with him. And I think on this visit, I think FSU kind of showed him all those things I think he was intrigued by. So certainly I think a good week for Byers.
It's key, though, obviously, for them to get him on campus first. Hopefully that kind of helps expedite his process. He's had nearly 2,000 snaps at the college level at UTEP. He's graded out at 81.2 this past season, 84.4 as a pass blocker, 81.3 as a run blocker. So Byers definitely brings some day one kind of cachet. Let's check down really quick to the high school level. Michael, Ruben Bain out of Miami Central. Hometown team obviously putting a heavy push for him.
Yeah.
Is it a two-team race? Do you think too big of a gap for Florida State to overcome, or do you think anything kind of changed in your mind of how Ruben Bain feels about these two schools in the top of his list?
I definitely think it's a two-team race with FSU and Miami, and there are people around his family that here prefer actually FSU, which is not surprising when you look at what the season and what FSU did, and just the way Norvell is and the way their whole locker room is built within the buy-in, the culture, the way the players are, and I think he took notice, like all the guys that are coming back. I think he saw that. And it's like, you know what? That tells you what's going on within the program, that these guys want to play with him. They love what they're doing. They're having fun. A lot of the recruits mentioned that too. There's a lot. Obviously, he's got great connections with Odell. There's a good certainly bond there. And then JP, I think he likes him a lot. Interesting enough, like I'll cover two things. First of all, it's like, yeah, it's going to be tough because it's Miami. It's a hometown team, and that's the team that's been, everyone's circled. And so when I'm thinking that, I'm like, okay, he's probably going to Miami. And then at the end of the interview, Ruben Bain mentioned, I was like, what's the biggest factor? And he said development. And so I don't think there's really much comparison when you talk about FSU developing defensive ends compared to what we've seen from Miami. So that was an interesting quote near the end of the visit. My thing is like, man, I'm gonna have to believe it to see it because I got burned last year with Wesley Basante. We saw that and everyone got excited and it's like, oh yeah, we could do it. And it's just like you're just gonna have to show me, man, for FSU to get a kid like that. I'd still say Miami, and that's not based on like, oh, this intel I'm hearing for FSU. I don't think they know for sure. They definitely think they're a major player. I mean, they're definitely. It's not some situation where FSU's trying to make up this massive amount of ground. I mean, I think they're right there. It's just like, will it be enough? There's so many ties, with Bain in Miami and there are ties with FSU too. I mean, several of his teammates are at FSU. Certainly Randy Shannon. Certainly guys that are on the support staff are just people he knows around FSU, and he's been here 4 times. So there's certainly. He loves what they're doing during the season. FSU certainly a much more proven product than what Miami is. So you're going a lot on faith if he does end up at Miami. So I think there's positives for FSU certainly, but I just can't get over. I mean, I've just been burned so many times with these South Florida kids that from the depths of inside Miami that you have to believe it to see it. So, but I do think they're right there. I would still side with Miami.
All right, and then there's so much over the premium recruiting board, everybody. You got to check it out. Updates on Cam Robinson, Conrad Hussey, Devontae Brown, Damari Brown. I'll let you pick one or two of those guys to touch upon, Michael. Everybody else can, be a subscriber to warchant.com and get all of it. Did anybody kind of really stand out to you in terms of maybe what they walked away from and their recruitment in terms of maybe Florida State trending a little bit stronger after Sunday?
Yeah, I'll cover some of the main ones. I mean, first I'll start with Conrad Hussey. That was the safety out of St. Thomas Aquinas. He was the last-minute add to the visit list. He was certainly a guy that they've been targeting. I swear I mention him on the recruiting chat almost every week, it seems like. It's like, is he going to visit? Is he going to officially visit FSU? Well, he did. He finally got there, and they got it done. And we know safety is a premier position for FSU. They really need some safeties, whether it be portal or high school. So, and this kid that grew up an FSU fan, he's committed to Penn State, but grew up an FSU fan. And I think some takeaways that I got was, obviously both teams are pretty good on the field. We've seen that with Penn State and FSU, and certainly Noles doing that. But he compared a lot to, it's like, hey, that was similar what Penn State is and what FSU is about how they always check on you. It's more than just football. It's a lot more outside of just the football range. And he said a lot of their discussions were mostly just not even about football. So I think that made him settle in really comfortably. But he did not hide the fact that he loves FSU and he loved growing up them. And he said the visit really matched, maybe even overmatched what he was looking for on this visit. So I think there's a real chance with FSU there. I asked him about decisions. Is there going to be another decision? He said, we'll see.
Okay.
So there is certainly, they certainly did a really good job of selling him on what they're going to do. Obviously, from what I hear, they highlighted certainly Jamie Robinson, and why wouldn't you? The guy's been phenomenal for FSU, and certainly they feel like Conrad can do those same things as what Jamie did. So I think that was kind of their main pitch of, if they did talk about football, was kind of like, hey, these are the things that you could do for us, and certainly it can't be ignored. I mean, people are like, oh, team players grow up fans. Yeah, but it's a big deal when you start matching up one or two teams against each other, and then you start talking about, being a fan of that team, and that team offers everything the other team you're committed to, it's something that you're seriously going to consider. So I think certainly FSU is going to do another in-home with him, I expect, next week. So that's a guy to watch. Now, as far as the Brown brothers, Devontae Brown, UCF defensive back, he's in the portal. It's another portal kid I talked about that they coveted and they got on campus. And certainly I felt the feeling I got was what he jumped out to him was another guy that said, like, hey, I'm really impressed with the fact that all these players are coming back. That makes you know that, hey, they're going the right direction. Mm-hmm. They're winning on the field. But these guys that could go pro, some of them are coming back. Now, eventually somebody's going to go pro, there's still some names left that likely could go pro. But I think that jumped out to him. It was really impressive. And then, two, watching the FSU practice and seeing the way the organization of what they'll do and what they do with their defensive backs, I think that really jumped out to Devontae. I think he's really, really excited and intrigued and about FSU, and I feel like it just feels like FSU's the team that's recruiting him the hardest. I'm sure there's other teams. I think Miami was a team mentioned. He said he might visit there, but it wasn't like anything set in stone. It wasn't like, hey, I'm definitely going there. He's definitely going to go watch his brother Damari play for a state title, I think, next weekend. So I really just get the feeling FSU's made him a priority, and it just clicks with everything. And I think another big factor for him is I think he wants to join a team that is productive. A team that is on the rise. I think that's an important factor with him, and a lot of those things I just mentioned scream FSU when you think about it. Now Damari Brown, Alabama, Florida State, Miami, he was there. It was more about his brother, but it was also time where Damari could be around Coach Woodson, Coach Norvell. He certainly loves those guys, and he's another guy that I think's been impacted by FSU's season. I said this before. If FSU didn't have that season, I don't think these two guys are guys that you could potentially pull. But I think because of that season, they're real options. Now I'd lean more towards Devontae being here than Damari, just because there's also a lot of ties with Damari to Miami. We know Miami wants Damari, but I'm not so sure about Devontae. But I still think Damari recruitment is still very close, and I would not count out Alabama there. He took a visit there to Alabama. We know what Alabama does with defensive backs, so could be a situation that if somehow Damari goes to Alabama, that you see Devontae pick FSU. But I really get the sense that there's a lot of positive vibe of Devontae Brown, when just after this official visit. And then the last guy I'm going to cover is Edwin Joseph. He's a 4-star from Chaminade High School, played for a state title here in Tally a few nights ago on Thursday. They won, in case people cared. But he's a guy that I put an RPM pick out for FSU after today's visit. Everything just, Aslan, everything just really feels like, hey, this is trending towards FSU. Right after the visit, he said, I'm not taking any more visits. I'm probably going to take a week, decide, figure it out, and then make a decision after talking to my parents. His parents were also on the visit with him. So you can just read body language. There's certain guys that give body language, and I think with Edwin Joseph, it gave off the body language that I'm not saying he told the staff, but I think there was an indication like, hey, this is probably the place. So that's kind of the main guys. There's a few more, I think linebacker Cam Robinson, but you can go on PRB. You can read all about that, but those are some of the main guys.
Right on. Edwin Joseph, a 4-star defensive back in corner on 3. Out of Chaminade, as Michael said, 6 foot 182. Devontae Brown was the 3-star coming out of high school, but after that career he's had at UCF, where he's played nearly 1,900 snaps, he's been reclassified in the transfer portal as a 4-star defensive back, according to On 3. So Florida State in the mix for a lot of higher tier talent. Last thing as we go out here, Michael, I guess kind of a 2-part thing. How much do you expect, like a flurry of activity here this next week? I know they're not practicing, but Mike Norvell said he's going to be on a plane, and he's got a lot of things and a lot of places to go to. I don't want you to say, like, we don't need to have anybody on commit watch, but could you see maybe 1 or 2 guys popping, and ultimately just how much good sort of will is out there right now, because Florida State did have such a good season, and they can kind of turn and show that to these recruits and their families?
Yeah, I think a few of those I could see that visited this weekend. I think you could see some decisions next week. I think people can kind of decipher which ones there are based on the intel we've just shared. But I think a few of those could be. I think they're certainly going to target some guys that that didn't visit this weekend. That I think that's probably going to be in the Mike Norvell's plans. I think there's going to be certainly guys they want to get on campus that are transfer guys that I think that's why I think that the list is going to expand. But last week alone, I mean, I think Mike Norvell went to the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. I mean, he was all over the country, whether it's seeing high school kids or portal kids. And so I think that's going to be a more consistent theme this week. You're going to see a lot of people, even juniors maybe check in to see some juniors, but I think there's going to be several in-home visits. So I think this weekend's more about the rest of the portal guys and getting them locked in for a visit and see what they can do and see if they can finish off this class, since December 21st is the early signing day, 21st through the 23rd. So I think FSU certainly wants to knock it out with a bang. So certainly, I think this week's going to be a lot focused on some transfer portal guys. Maybe I get the feeling, little birdie in my ear, that there's going to be some new guys that I haven't mentioned before that they're likely going to go see from the portal. And certainly, I think they plan this certainly the way it is with FSU having bowl prep and all these guys having time off. Now they can just focus strictly on the road. So I think certainly this wasn't by accident that they wanted to make sure they had this time so they could, if there was a portal kid or if there was a new high school or JUCO kid they could go look at, they wanted to have this week to do that. So I think their staff's going to be really busy on the road.
Busy times in the kingdom. Stay connected to warchant.com and the premium recruiting board. Michael's got everything updated by the minute pretty much every single hour. So you can't miss out. Subscribe to warchant.com. Get all of Michael's great insight. Michael, we appreciate it, man.
You got it, man. And just for people, I just put up a recruiting wrap. I just put that up right before I came on with Aslan. So that's up from just kind of stuff I'm hearing. And then certainly, as Aslan just pointed out, several articles up on Conrad Hussey, Reuben Bain, the Damari and Devontae Brown, Kyle Morlock. So got a lot more coming up. I'm going to work on some transfer stuff tonight. I'm hopeful, not guaranteed, but I'm hopeful that I will have a transfer portal update tonight. So we'll see. But like I said, it's only going to get crazier. So I appreciate everyone. I appreciate the time.
'Tis the season, everybody. We're talking bowl season, and there's no better way to spend it than over at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT on your first deposit. You'll receive a percentage match directly into your betting account over at MyBookie. You can use it to make any kind of parlay, straight-up bets, go into the casino online, anything you want over at MyBookie.ag when you use the promo code WARCHANT. And check it out. The lines are finally out on bowl season. Can you dig it? Noles, 7.5-point favorite. 7.5. Disrespectful. Point total, 65. 65. Noles going to get 45. Noles are going to score 45, 42-ish. Oklahoma, can they get 3 touchdowns on this defense? I don't know, though. Who wants to root for the under? I don't know. Maybe you do. Over under 65 on the Oklahoma-Florida State game. In terms of the playoff, Georgia, 6.5-point favorite. That's it? That's all? I'll hammer that one. Michigan, 7.5-point favorite on TCU. I think the Horned Frogs might keep it close. We'll see what Corey thinks later on next week when we get back down to brass tacks when we both do this promo. But in the meantime, you go to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT. Enjoy your deposit bonus. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere over at mybookie.ag. Corey, you should have corrected me. It is Victory Monday, kind of. Leonard Hamilton and the Noles, somewhat fresh off of a win Saturday against Louisville. They go to 1-1 in conference play, 2-9
overall. Yeah.
Okay. You were there. You took it all in. Anything to build off of, or do we just take it as outgunning a very poor Louisville team, and that's kind of what it is?
I think you're being kind by saying a very poor Louisville team. I legitimately think it's the worst ACC team I've ever seen. Okay. It's one of the, 10 or 12 worst teams I've ever seen in that building, period. Like, Florida State didn't even play that well, I didn't think. And Florida State isn't very good, clearly. They were 1-9 going into that game, and they won by 22 points, and it was never competitive in the second half. And Louisville actually shot the ball from 3 well. So I don't know what happened. I can explain what's happened to Florida State. You think about 3 years ago, Aslan, with that game, Florida State and Louisville, 2 top 10 teams. I think it was a Monday night, but it was an incredible atmosphere. And Trent Forrest dunk, Patrick Williams dunk. Unbelievable. Yes. And then here we are 3 years later. The 2 teams are combined going into the game 1-17. And now they're 2-18. But the 2 are both Florida State because Louisville is awful. As far as Florida State goes, I did think they played defense well-ish. They seemed to play well. They seemed to play hard. Corhen, the freshman, Cameron Corhen, had a nice game. Certainly had a nice stretch there. Hit a 3, made his free throws, had a dunk, had a follow bucket. It's hard to really put a lot of stock into it, though. And it's weird because it's Louisville. It's Louisville. They've won national championships, folks. They've been to Final Fours, lots of them. But it's almost like beating Texas Southern in women's basketball. It's like it's hard to even gauge what it means because they are so bad. But still, a win's a win. You need wins. You need a lot of them. And, Florida State, I know they lost Cam Fletcher in the middle here, but losing by, I don't know, what is it, 8 or 9 to Purdue, being, I think,
10.
either up or down by 2 at halftime. But in that game.
Yeah.
Then in the game in the final minute at number 3, Virginia. And then your next game after that, you win by 22. It's like, okay, maybe some things are starting to get figured out a little bit. Or maybe it's just Louisville. We don't know. Because losing Cam Fletcher, their best rebounder, best athlete, that loss was not felt at all on Saturday. It'll be felt moving forward. But Bobby Miller will be coming back here in 4 or 5 games, so that's good. Not coming back. He hasn't played yet. He'll be coming in 4 and 5 games. But I just think the season is still very, very much a disappointment and gross to watch because of the injuries and the suspension and everything else. But it was cool for a Saturday for Leonard to be in a good mood, for the hundreds of you guys that were in attendance to be in a good mood and get to cheer for this basketball program. Because I was thinking about this, Aslan. I don't want them to be a punchline because they got us through some dark days with this football program. Trent Forrest is out there dunking on fools right after you had to fire your Willie Taggart after another bad year. Like, you know what I mean? Like they got us. You got to go cover an Elite 8, Sweet 16s. So I don't want to really use them as a punchline because now that football is good and we know what people care about the most, and it is clearly football. We get it, but still, that basketball team got us through some hard times. So I just hope they can somehow find a way to win some games here when they're not playing Louisville.
Next up for the Noles, USC Upstate, Tuesday night, 8:30. Drink your DeLuna, kids. SC Upstate, they're 5-4 on the season, so maybe some hopes there for a win. Yeah. Then after that, they've got St. John's on Saturday. The Johnnies with Mike Anderson, formerly of Missouri and Arkansas, they're 10-1 on the year. That's on
all right.
Neutral court, though, down there in Sunrise, where the Panthers play, the Orange Bowl Classic. So those are the next 2 games for the Noles. We'll see if they can maybe string something together here, get some momentum built before they go into a bit of a holiday break. We will do shows not the rest of the week, not every day, but as needed. Maybe I'll figure out some sort of topics that we can do to fill a show. We'll do a Renegade Express in there as well, too, to help pass the time. Give the people what they want, Corey. They're still working. Shoot, we should still work too, I guess, right?
Well, and I feel like there's going to be some, portal news, some coming back news. There's going to be some stuff to talk about here in the next couple weeks, even though we should say Florida State has basically the entire week off of practice.
Yes.
Like they're not practicing again, I think he said, until Sunday. So there's not going to be a lot from practice to talk about, but there'll be some other off-the-field stuff that we definitely will be able to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, next time we get together, Corey, we'll do offense assistant coaches Christmas wish list. What each of them is going to wish for this Christmas. That'll fill some time.
Okay, it will. That sounds great.
Okay, cool. He's Corey, and for Michael Langston as well, we thank you all for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Stay connected to warchant.com. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock, coming up, 93.3 FM and Warchant TV.